you just get a letter in the mail from the IRS and you have this giant tax bill and it says that you owe this and you better pay now, otherwise there's going to be more penalties and interest. First thing to do is do not ignore this notice. So today we're going to cover what's called the CP 2000 IRS notice, what it is, and what we should be doing next. When you take a look at this letter, it can be very, very intimidating. Not only just the dollar amount, but also the way they word things, like saying that you have to pay it now, otherwise there's more penalties and interest. So the first thing we should do is not ignore this letter. The second thing, if you do have a tax professional, go ahead and send this document plus all the supporting pages to your tax preparer and let them read through it to see if it's accurate or not. Because this notice, what it is, it's an automated letter that's generated when the IRS receives your tax return, and they compare it to the tax documents or tax information that they get from some providers. So for example, if you have a 1099-B and you file your taxes that you've had this many gains or losses, but the IRS, when they look at it, they say, hey, there was an additional sale of Apple stock or Nvidia stock at a certain gain that's different than what you disclose on your tax return. That's what generates the automated letter. It could be possibly a completely inaccurate letter, but either way, you do need to respond. If you send that letter to your tax preparer, what they're going to do, and if you don't have a tax preparer, here's what you should do, is one, read the supporting information that they have in the letter. Typically it's starting in that third page where they start to outline the discrepancies between what you filed and what they believe to be true. If you're reading through it and you're identifying things that just are completely inaccurate, so for example, a sale at a gain of a particular stock from an institution, and you know that you did not do that, then you should take a look and start building out the supporting documents. Take a look at the statement for that particular month they said that it was sold, and one, see if it's true or not. If it's inaccurate or there's some discrepancies different from what they proposed, that's when we want to start building out the letter. And the response letter can be written by you or your tax professional. If it's written by a tax professional, what they'll do is they'll lay out the case of what the IRS proposed and what we believe to be true. And sometimes you have corresponding IRS codes to determine whether something is taxable or not. And so, for example, I'm going to pull up here a made-up example. And at the top, you can see that the IRS proposed that there was a capital gain on a money market mutual fund, which money market mutual funds, very stable, are supposed to be traded, bought and sold at $1 per share. And so that was very clear to be inaccurate. So what we could do is take a look at the closed tax lot statements or look at the statements for that particular month that they identified, and we can show or have that supporting document showing that what they've received is inaccurate. The second can be a little bit more complex example where we look at the specific tax code and where sometimes it may be true that a client would owe taxes. However, in a given particular case, there might be a certain amount or dollar limit where anything under a certain dollar amount wouldn't be not taxable. And so after either you draft the letter or your tax preparer drafts the letter and sends it off to the IRS, the hardest part is going to be the next step, and that is to wait. You will typically find that the response that the IRS gives you is anywhere between 3 and 6 months, sometimes even longer. In the meantime, that interest is building. So if you're not confident in your position, it may make sense to pay those penalties, interest, and taxes owed. But if you are confident in your position, it's recommended not to pay that notice amount. In the meantime, while you're waiting though, you will likely receive more and more of these letters. And that's typically the hardest part because you gave a response, they haven't processed it yet. And so they get more and more intimidating and different notices sent to you. And we just have to wait to their final response. Typically, you'll get a letter eventually saying we've received your response, but they may not have fully reviewed it to give you a determination if you owe those taxes or not. So again, to recap, do not ignore this letter. If you have a tax professional, send that letter with the additional pages showing those discrepancies. They might be able to identify an inaccuracy in the coding or the way it's typed out, and be able to build that response letter for you. And either they'll send a response if you want them to, typically with additional charge, or you can start building out your case with that response letter, laying out the IRS's proposed position, your position, and identifying specific supporting documents and IRS code as needed. Hopefully you found that helpful so that you can be a little bit more comforted. I know those IRS notices can be very intimidating, and please seek out some professional advice that have gone through it before to help guide you and lead you through your response.